So in this video, we're going to do an overview of how to write a business report. There are many different types of business reports, but I'm going to be talking about business reports that might be written by an operations manager. Now, operations managers solve problems. Now, these problems might be in a manufacturing process, or it might be in a service, or it might be in transporting products from one location to another. Basically, you're going to analyze problems, you're going to figure out what the solution is, and then you're going to write a report. And in that report, you're going to make a clear recommendation as to how to solve that problem, and you're going to tell me how to implement that. So let's take a look at an example. So this is Sammy's Pizza. Sammy's Pizza is a large pizza chain, and they deliver pizza to people's houses, and they're all over North America. Recently, they have a problem. The problem is late deliveries. You've been invited to the head office to solve this problem. Solving this problem requires research, and you're going to learn how to do that research in your operations management class. But basically, you need to understand the objective, analyze the problem, investigate solutions, come up with a clear recommendation, and make an implementation plan. And all of that research goes into this report. The purpose of the report is to persuade the client to implement your plan. To persuade the client, your challenge is to provide relevant details and make the report easy to understand even for people unfamiliar with the project. Now I'm looking at a report. This is a report that was written by BCIT operations management students in their second term. Now there were 5 people on this team, and this report is 65 pages. Now this is how I expect your report to be organized. Page 1 is the title page. Page 2 is the executive summary. The executive summary summarizes the entire contents of your report. Next is the table of contents. The table of contents lists all of the headings, the subheadings, and the appendices. Now in this report, the table of contents is 2 pages. The next section is the body. Now different reports will have a different organization and different headings and subheadings, but in this report, the body includes these headings: introduction, methodology, analysis of current process, analysis of alternatives, recommendation, implementation plan, conclusion. The body of this report is 15 pages. The next section is the appendices, and in this report, the appendices is the longest section at 44 pages. I can see all of the operations management tools that were used, and I can also see a lot of the data and the research that went into this project. The final section is the reference page, and this is where you refer to all of the outside sources that you use for this report. So now let's take a look at each of these sections in a bit more detail. So this is the title page. First, you should have a report title that accurately describes the objective of your project. Next, you should show who the report was prepared by. List the full names and affiliation of all team members. In a real business report, this would often include contact information. Next, show who the report was prepared for. At BCIT, this will include your course name and instructors' names. In a real business report, this would include the name of your client's company. Finally, always include the date that the report was submitted. So these are the requirements for your title page, but you may also have a company logo and a picture. If you use a picture, communicate, don't decorate. The picture should help communicate the objective of the report. The title page sometimes includes other information such as version numbers or acknowledgments. The next section is the executive summary. The executive summary is a short summary of the whole report, often just 1 page, but sometimes longer. The executive summary is perhaps the most important part of your report. It's read by the most people, and it's your first opportunity to persuade the client about your idea. A strong executive summary, and your client will want to read the rest of your report. A weak executive summary, perhaps the client stops reading. Your biggest challenge is making your executive summary understandable to anyone who picks up your report. The executive summary starts by explaining the objective of your project. You'll state the recommendation. You'll provide details about your recommendation, including costs. Importantly, you'll state the benefits of implementing your plan. In the final paragraph, you have a take-home message. Here you should emphasize the value of your proposal and tell me how to get started. The executive summary will look slightly different depending on the topic of the report. However, you should always start with the objective and end with the take-home message. Somewhere in the middle, there should be a clear recommendation. Another common organization I see is objective, key findings, recommendation, benefits, and take-home message. Next, we have the table of contents. The table of contents lists all of the headings and subheadings in your report. It also lists all of the appendices. The table of contents can be created for you automatically in Microsoft Word using design styles. The only point I want to emphasize here is have good descriptive headings in the body of your report and your appendices. I should be able to look at your table of contents and understand how your report is organized. Now we come to the body of the report, and this starts with the introduction. The introduction is usually quite short. It starts by setting the context for your project and stating the objective. Next, you provide relevant background information. You end by telling me how the report is organized, what information is in the report. One thing I want to emphasize is, in the introduction, tell me about the problem you were asked to solve. Don't tell me the answer. I don't want to hear your recommendation at this stage. After the introduction, the next sections of your report will depend on your topic. You will have descriptive headings and subheadings. You will have tables, and you will have figures. You need to figure out how to use figures and tables effectively. To persuade me, you need to present evidence. Figures and tables are useful for this, allowing you to summarize complex data in a simple way. Now, your tables and figures are not decorations. They need to be well integrated into your report. You need to introduce your table or figure, you present it, and then you will tell me the key point. Try to tell your story visually. As you can see, figures and tables are on almost every page of this report. The last section in the body of your report is the conclusion. Like the introduction, this section is short. Let's take a look. First, tell me your recommendation and how it solves my problem. Next, tell me the benefits of your recommendation. End with a take-home message. Tell me the value of your idea and how easy it is to implement. The conclusion could include a table or figure, but this is optional. If you choose to use a table, the table would summarize the most important numbers from your report. One key point I would like to emphasize is the conclusion is a summary. There should be no new information or ideas in this part of the report. The next section of the report is the appendices. This is where you're going to show all the data, calculations, and research from your report. In operations management, you'll learn to use a variety of tools such as process maps and fishbone diagrams, and those tools would all appear here. The data in the appendices is complex, so each appendix will need a descriptive title and an introduction. You need to help me understand what I'm looking at. What is this? Why did you make this? Perhaps also, what did you find out? So each appendix has a descriptive title, an introduction, and data. Descriptive title, introduction, and data. If you have several tables in an appendix, you will likely need an introduction for each table. Appendices need to be self-standing. That means that I should be able to look at any page in the appendix and quickly understand what I'm looking at and why. The biggest challenge you will face is figuring out what information goes in the appendix and what goes in the body of the report. Well, the appendix is all of your research. Somehow, the most important points from your research has to be summarized in the body of your report. The final section of your report is references. This is where you will need to cite all of the outside sources you used in your report. Now, you actually need to cite your sources 2 times. One time is on the reference page here, and the other is called in-text referencing in the middle of your report. To understand in-text referencing, let's go back to page 7 of this report. So perhaps you used a direct quotation here. Whenever you use information from an outside source, you need to cite it immediately. You would do it like this. Tell me the source and the year of publication. according to Transport Canada Regulations 2020. Now, because this is a direct quote, word for word copying, you need to use quotation marks. And then at the end of the quotation, you need to use an endnote. So that's how you do in-text referencing. You'll see different styles of in-text referencing, but this is the style that we're going to use in the operations management program. Now, let's go back to the reference page. Now, this source here, number 4, matches the source in the body of the report. I just wanted to add one other point. If you had any outside help on this report, you should acknowledge that outside help here in an acknowledgement section. So that's how your project should be organized. To conclude, let me just say, focus on the objective. The objective of your project is to create a plan that will solve the client's problem. The objective of the report is to persuade the client to implement your plan. Now, a great report will be clear and concise. Relevant information will be communicated visually so that it is instantly understandable. In the end, the report should be easy to read, even for someone who's not familiar with the project.